That in England they don't use bevels in the court. No, there's hammers.
I've got one at home.
They don't use them
I've got
in
one at
England.
home. You get it. I'll give you. It's yours. It's got your name on it, mate.
It's all theatre, okay? And this is what I keep saying to people when we go to court. Remember, it's theatre. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Enjoy the ride. Okay? Some theatres are more expensive than others, okay? But you're going to end up paying for the theatre one way or the other.
Even Parliament is theatre.
Everything is theatre. So what I'm proposing is, okay, with the court auditors, we're going to have orange vests that say court auditors to make it absolutely clear in their face what we do. But what we should do is, we need to use their magic against them as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay? They're dressed up in black. Why don't they come in white? What is black magic? Okay?
Deception.
What is magic? Magic is basically when you don't know how the trick is done.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
My magician friend told me that it's only magic until you know how it's done.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if this all was in darkness tonight, with all the, if we switch off the emergency escapes and in total darkness, one little candle can get you safely from here to the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
That's white magic. Throwing a bit of knowledge, throwing a bit of light onto truth. Okay? And as soon as you do that with these guys, then they go into self-defense, which means they make up all sorts of crap. They all make bullshit. They hang themselves. They will give you everything you need to hang. They'll do it themselves. You don't need to do anything. Okay? But it's a game of chess. I said to a few people earlier, I don't know, but they know they've lost the game. They know it's checkmate in 8 moves or 9 moves or whatever.
When you say they, who we're referring to?
All of Parliament,
The bad guys.
all of these guys,
Okay.
they know it's game over. Okay? They are hoping we make a mistake. But by sharing the knowledge and sharing experiences, what we differ from them. They work in their little compartments, okay? And, oh look, how many cases I've won. Okay? And so, with this thing, they keep knowledge to themselves and aren't doing what we do. We're sharing knowledge and we're sharing experience. And that's why we catch it. In the last 6 months, we've knocked decades off their game. They know it. And in February this year, Boris Johnson turned around and said publicly, because everything's public,
Yeah.
you have to notice. Okay, it's all about equity. Okay, and he said, we're going to pick and choose what court judgments we abide by. Game over. We know we've won. Okay, so but that there's at the intellectual level. So the spiritual war is won. The intellectual level is won. Okay. It's just this manifestation into material takes time. Okay? It's just a matter of time. They collapse. We can we can sit by the side and just watch the show. Okay? Or we can start to create the new future.
Yeah.
Okay? Create what we want.
Yes.
Okay? And that day, what will happen is, as this collapses and this builds up, the 80% will see there's an alternative. And that's when you reach your
Is there a timeline for that?
Sorry?
Is there a timeline? Do you know, like,
No.
calculation?
Yeah, by 2032 you won't recognise this.
2032?
That's what my psychoanalysis says. but give or take a bit. Okay, let's go back to the Bible. Okay, we've had the ram, we've had the bull, we've had the fish, and we're moving into Aquarius. Those are all books about those parts in the cycle, what they are. What's the Age of Aquarius? Okay, most of us remember.
Water.
Yeah, but it's the water bearer.
It's about the rule of law. That's what Aquarius. What is Pisces about? Fish. What was Jesus about? Fish. Fisherman. What was Moses or whatever? I don't know. One of them was the ram. Abraham was the bull. Other way around. Okay. And in the 1850s, I can't remember the Reverend's name. There's a book called The Devil's pulpit, I think it's called. And he actually got excommunicated from the church because what they were trying to say is, you know, come on, priests, get a bit more lively and let's sell this a bit better and get more money in. And so he did an allegorical interpretation of the Bible, where basically he linked all of these things to the Kali Yuga and got himself excommunicated for it. That's the way it goes. Okay. I can't remember how I got onto that. But moving back, I really think, if there's a simple message from all of what I'm trying to say, because we need to find a strategy. I'm not a marketer, okay? I'm totally crap at marketing. Today's the first time in probably 3 or 4 courses that I've done that I've actually got business cards with. But we need to find a simple, effective way of getting through. Remember, wash hands, this, that, say no checks. Whatever. The 3s again, okay? There is something Tesla with these 3s. We need to find a simple message that we can convey. And I believe that is the oaths, affirmations, or attestations. That is the contract with the people. Legislation is merely how they will, the policy, the detail of how they will deliver the contract that they've undertaken to do. So the contract is to govern us according to our respective laws and customs. That there is expressed and affirmed in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights makes it pretty damn clear we the boss, not them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Coronation Oath Act affirms it's to govern us according to our laws and our customs. And the Act of Settlement 1700 reaffirms what in the Bill of Rights are called our ancient rights and liberties. In the Act of Settlement it calls this, the law is the birthright of the people. Therefore, all of the oaths and affirmations say they're going to act according to the law, our birthright. Okay? And our birthright is quite simple. All are equal under the law. Nobody's above the law, and we're all equal to, entitled to an equal share of the Creator's pie. Okay? So I think that's where we need to try and concentrate this, because to them, we've had responses back from the council when we've quoted the Coronation Oath Act 1688. It's mere ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's friggin' mere ceremony, why is it still part of the current statute book? Okay? This is the level of their understanding. Okay? Now, the problem we have is we've got divorce lawyers, we've got property lawyers, we've got trust lawyers, we've got intellectual property lawyers, we've got lawyers for everything.
Yeah.
Each one's a specialist. Okay? So we've got lots of trees, but nobody's stepping back to see there's actually a forest.
Yeah.
The wood for the trees or whatever
Yeah.
the proper thing is, I don't remember. I should know that. I studied forestry. So. And so hopefully you're starting to see that by stepping back a bit, we actually can start to connect these dots. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to do. But the simple message that I think, you know, from what I've done so far, we need to really hammer home to these guys. Your word is your bond. The Oath Act 1978 says you bind yourself. It even goes as far as to say, if you don't do it in the format specified in the legislation, you still are bound by it.
Yes. Would an attestation be covered under the Oath Act?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So that is what I think we really need to drive home to these people. The substance is, I, by my free will, undertake these duties, rights and obligations to the people, because all of them are to the people. Yeah?
In America, there's all these public officials from like sheriffs, school boards, police, whatever. They take this called like a bond or something, and then they have this insurance, and then there's this whole lot of people in there.
In England, basically, the taxpayers are the insurance fund.
So you can't, because they do like a sort of a statement of claim, like a pre-action protocol against their insurance, going, are you really sure you want to keep forcing the kids at this school to be jabbed because of blah, 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 blah evidence? And then it's
Okay,
turned a lot of
basically-
stuff around in a positive way. So I
Yeah,
just
so
wasn't-
basically here the judges are covered by the taxpayer, so we the insurance policy or the bond for them.
Yeah.
Okay, and the solicitors have their own solicitors regulation authority insurance. The barristers have their own, the Bar Association has their own insurance. And I don't know where King's or Queen's councils fit into or what they've
Like,
got.
Like
MPs,
But-
professional
MPs.
indemnity insurance.
No, as an individual, okay, every solicitor has a professional indemnity insurance, which goes into the fund of the Solicitor Regulation Authority, who then are underwritten by Lloyd's or whoever. Okay.
What
So
about
basically in
MPs?
America, yes, you've got the bond where you individually are covering yourself, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's,
I think judges in America actually are insured. They have to insure themselves. Okay, this is another place where we're going to start hitting them, because when you put solicitors on notice, okay, this might actually be a good point too, because it's, no, let's just finish this first. Okay, and then I'll explain what happened to me in my case and with the solicitors on notice, so that you can get the context of things a bit better, because it explains a lot when you've got actual examples. So the judiciary, we've said, is created by the second promise, i.e. the second promise says governance, judiciary, church, the third promise. Okay, they're unrelated, they're independent. The Constitution Reform Act 2003 through 2005 set up the Supreme Court, removing it from the Lords, and tasked the Lord Chancellor with one job: to ensure the independence of the judiciary. So, legislatively, they've admitted, when a matter is admitted, it's no longer in dispute. Therefore, we shouldn't be arguing this in court anymore, because we can give judicial notice using their admission that the judiciary is independent. So, therefore, you are not subject to anything that Parliament says. You are totally independent. So then I've said about the judicial officers of the court make a judicial oath. They make first an oath of allegiance. It's a dual oath. The oath of allegiance is to do what the Queen's promised to do, i.e. we are the individuals who are executing what the Queen promised to do, and we'll do it according to law, which is what she promised to do. Then the execution or the implementation or upholding the law, once disputes are resolved, either by contract when we create them, or by common law precedents by an order of the court, that should be upheld by the police. Okay? So the oath or affirmation or attestation of the police is one to their office. Okay, as an officer, they undertake to keep the peace, protect people and property according to law. So it's very clear that side is independent. Now, there was no police force before the early 1800s, and then a guy, Robert Peel, made the Peel Principles of Policing. And that still is the foundation today of all the police. So I just want to quickly go through them. So again, you can see the thought process, the intent behind it, and that has been reaffirmed in 2020. So very recently reaffirmed. Okay? So it's nothing new under the sun. So the first one was to prevent crime and disorder as an alternative to the repression by military force and severity of legal punishment. The second one was to, so this is page 65. 65 or 66. The second one, to recognize always that the power of the police to fulfill their functions and duties is dependent on public approval of their existence, actions and behavior, and on their ability to secure and maintain public respect. Okay? Now, think back to all equal under the law, nobody's above the law. The Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984 and the Police Crimes Act 1967, citizens arrest. Okay? The only difference was, as a policeman, you were paid to devote all your time to uphold the rule of law, as opposed to us individually doing it. Okay? 3, to recognize always that to secure and maintain respect of and approval of the public means also the securing of the willing cooperation of the public in the task of securing observance to law. 4, to recognize always that the extent to which cooperation of the public can be secured diminishes proportionately, and the necessity of the use of physical force and compulsion for achieving police objectives. So force now is a last resort. 5, to seek and preserve public favour and not pandering to public opinion, but by constantly demonstrating absolute impartiality service to law, not legislation. In complete independence of policy, i.e. I don't care what government legislation says, and without regard to the justice or injustice of the substance of individual laws. By ready offering of individual service and friendship to all members of the public without regard to their wealth, social standing, exercise of courtesy, friendly, good humour, and by ready offering of individual sacrifices, protecting and preserving life. These are good. This is good stuff.
So it's
5, to seek and preserve public favour, not pandering to public opinion. 6, to use physical force only when the exercise of persuasion, advice and warning is found to be insufficient to obtain public cooperation, to an extent necessary to secure observance of law or to restore order, and to use only a minimal physical degree of force which is necessary on any particular occasion for achieving the police objective. Again, law.
yeah.
So I quickly want to divert you, going back to remind you. Remember I said for something to have the force of law, you need a good reason, a legitimate aim. You need to have considered all reasonable alternatives to achieve that legitimate aim. And you pick the one which least impacts on somebody's life. So, if somebody demonstrates that to you, okay, do you need a law? Do you need, okay? So, if you've got good law, which is reasonable and rational and people understand it, you don't need police. Okay? Because people will do it themselves. So, this thing about law really needs to be reinforced. And to recognize always the need for strict adherence to police executive functions and to refrain from even seeming to usurp the power of the judiciary of avenging individuals or the state or the authoritative judging guilt and punishing the guilty. Don't come up to me and say that you're going to lock me up, because lay your claim against me, show me the evidence, and we'll decide, let the jury in the court decide if I'm guilty or not. Due process of law.
Yeah. Is that on any of these pages?
Yeah,
66.
66.
Thank you.
To recognize always that the test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder, and not the visible evidence of police action dealing with it.
Nowadays they do exactly opposite.
You know, 1834 or something like that. Okay? So, we haven't learned these lessons as a society. Some of us individually know it. We now know that. Okay? But society needs to learn on that fractal scale this truth. So, this was re-expressed in 2002, and Okay, now I've added this in, it's probably not in your manual, so go down to page 60, sort of 68, and just write in there, if you've got a pen, the Police Conduct Regulations 2020. At the end.
It's not in ours.
Hang on, go to page, oh no, it's in there, sorry. Oh, that's right, Ryan, I managed to get you this copy. Yeah, page 69. Okay, so what I've read to you is 1834 or 1839, I can't remember. So let's look at the 2020 version, current, recent.
Excuse me, in our copy, page 69 is about
Family courts.
No, hang on, the other manual.
The other manual.
Yeah, this is the court auditor manual.
Oh, no wonder we couldn't find it.
No, that's why you... okay, well I'll get you...
We should have had two things.
There was next one.
Okay.
No,
It's on page 69.
no, we've only got one manual.
No, okay, sorry. Hang on, what's that? Is that yours?
We needed two manuals, not one.
Yeah.
We've only got one.
Okay, well we'll have to sort that out.
Have you got enough manuals to go around? Because we've probably got a first set, me and Michael can share one.
There are some left over because there were some people that didn't turn up.
Okay, well we'll have to sort that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I wonder what.
Okay, so let's look at what has been expressed now in 2020, 150 years later. Okay, the standards of professional behaviour. So first, honesty and integrity. Police officers are honest, act with integrity, and do not compromise or abuse their position. Authority, respect and courtesy. Police officers act with self-control and tolerance, treating members of the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy. Police officers do not abuse their powers or authority and respect the rights of all individuals. And equality and diversity. Police officers act with fairness and impartiality. They do not discriminate unlawfully or unfairly. Use of force. Police officers use only force to the extent that is necessary, proportionate, and reasonable in all circumstances. Orders and instructions. Police officers only give and carry out lawful orders and instructions. Police officers abide by police regulations, of which we're reading one now. Force policies and lawful orders. Duties and responsibilities. Police officers are diligent in the exercise of their duties and responsibilities. Police officers have a responsibility to give appropriate cooperation during investigation, inquiries, formal proceedings, participating openly and professionally in line with the expectations of a police officer when identified as a witness. Which means, basically, guys, we start calling police officers to give witness testimony against one another.
Is there a difference between a police officer and a police constable?
At a guess, yeah, but it doesn't matter because anybody dressed up in fancy dress in a police
Clown costume.
yeah, in a clown costume.
Do we have constables anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think we do. No.
Possibly we don't. I think I read somewhere that people were saying that it changed in the 70s or something like that.
Become an agent, isn't it? So they're no longer public servants. They're now an agent of the crown.
Yeah. Okay, but essentially it doesn't matter because whether they call themselves constables or officers, they're bound by the same thing to keep the peace, protect people and property according to law.
Because it was common back in the day when we had constables everywhere.
Yeah.
But Mark, you mentioned earlier on about the oath carrying on with any predecessors.
Yeah.
Since they implemented the attestation, that's no longer. Yeah. So when they attest, they don't attest on behalf of the predecessors as well.
Yeah.
They only attest on behalf of the Queen. Yes,
yeah,
and
no,
when it's dead,
okay,
their
basically-
attestation no longer carries on.
Okay, we'll go back to it because the oath, some oaths are to, the oath of allegiance is to the monarch, but the oaths of office are perpetual. Until they revoke that oath is what binds them. Okay? Okay, confidentiality. Police officers treat information with respect and access to disclose it only in the proper course of police duties. Fitness for duties. Police officers, when on duty or presenting themselves for duty, are fit to carry out their responsibility. Discreditable conduct. Police officers behave in a manner which does not discredit the police or undermine police confidence in it, whether on or off duty. Police officers report any action taken against them for a criminal offence, any conditions imposed on them by a court, or receipt of penalty notices. The last one, challenging and reporting improper conduct. Police officers report, challenge or take action against the conduct of colleagues which has fallen below the standards of professional behaviour. So pretty much we've got a reaffirmation what was expressed in the mid-1800s. Okay? That's great, that's good, if they would do their job. Okay? And this is 2020. So let's look at the conspiracy theories about control and nefarious agendas and stuff like that. Really kicked off in end of 2019, didn't that?
Yeah.
Okay. Why on
No.
earth would they make legislation
going
and
for
regulation
years.
like this in 2020?
That's been going for years, these conspiracy theories, as you call them. But,
Yeah.
So it's not 2019, it's been going
Yeah, no, but the latest round, okay?
Yeah, there's always been
Okay, the latest round. So why on earth, if it's about these conspiracy theories, would they enact something like this? It makes no rational sense to me. Why would you do it? Because this is legislation which they want to enforce in the magistrates' court, where they've got the run of the mill. They wouldn't put stuff like this in writing. It just seems insane to me. If you've got an alternative agenda, why in 2020 are you doing this? In 2020, they also brought out the Sentencing Act. The Sentencing Act, we'll talk about this tomorrow, at section 63 says, the judge cannot impose a fine unless there's evidence of harm, intended harm, or reasonably foreseeable harm. Very equitable. Why would they be saying that if the idea is to screw everybody over? It makes to me no rational sense. They could have just left it as it was. But whilst everybody was on about these conspiracy theories and all of this stuff, they are enacting a lot of very equitable regulations and legislation.
Is that not because there's a battle between the black and the white as you were talking before,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
yeah.
undercurrents
Absolutely.
going on?
Absolutely. Okay? And we'll look at the Boris Johnson judgment now. I think it's now.
Could they not say reasonably foreseeable harm is you infected someone because you weren't wearing a mask?
Show me the
So
evidence.
they have to prove
Show me the evidence.
Exactly.
You're breaching my peace. You believe that. Okay, let's just look at that.
What about hurty words?
Oh. Words may break my bones, but words will never harm me. We choose the effect hurty words have on us. Okay? And I don't know, who else remembers sticks and stones may break my bones? Okay? But the youngsters have never heard of this. Okay?
Well, they've been
Or
brainwashed, that's
police
why.
officers can't be offended by words such as fucking cunt. Actually stated in the case law.
Okay, so freedom of speech is what you're talking about. Alright? So freedom of speech. If I call you derogatory term, okay, can I support that with evidence? A prostitute, if I call somebody a whore, because I know I've paid for sex with her, okay, I can support the word whore.
Unless you've got a receipt.
We've got STDs instead.
Okay. So really, people are talking now about you're hurting my feelings. Okay. So, is it your opinion I'm hurting, or your attacking, or your feelings? If you express an opinion, okay, you need evidence to support that opinion. And I have every right, as you have to express your opinion, to ask you to prove your opinion. Okay? So, as opposed to if I'm attacking your personality, all right? She's a bitch. Okay? As opposed to she said X, Y, Z, and I don't believe her because of A, B, C. So now we have a lawful, proper dispute where we can rationalize and reach it. So when we come to the opinion, so what is this thing now about transgender? Okay, so let's look at transgender. What is a male and what is a female?
Penis and vagina.
Okay, correct, because that is how we've chosen to define a male and a female. Okay, but you go and try and milk a bull, and I reckon you'd very quickly find out the difference between male and female. But the point being, what you associate with, okay, if you associate to a certain thing, okay, we all, in us we have God and the devil. We have good, we have bad. We have masculine traits, we have feminine traits.
Yeah.
It's to varying degrees,
Yeah.
okay? And it's about reaching a balance between the two.
Yeah.
So going back to the pendulum on whatever trait you want to take, it's about reaching a balance. So I used to be very male, I still am male brain, but I'm much more spiritual and female brain, the divine feminine, than I used to be 5 years ago. But does that make me better or worse? No. It's just the way that I am.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, however, you know, if you want to associate as a dog, fine, go ahead. Okay? But don't come and preach your crap around here because it bears no evidential reality. But now I'm attacking an opinion. And whether your feelings are hurt about it or not, tough shit. That's what you choose. I'm not attacking your personality. And so we've got to be careful we distinguish between principles and personalities with free speech. But this, again, with what's going on, shows you we've reached the extremes and we're going into serious stupidity away from truth. I can't imagine what will come next worse than that.
It's not about just blurring the truth there, it's about paedophilia, it's about them trying for their transhumanism agenda. And funny enough, I just thought this might make everyone laugh, but I don't know how much truth there is behind this. But I learned yesterday, someone told me that in a classroom they even have a cat litter tray. I went, no. What?
Well, just imagine you go there and piss there, you'll get down
And I'm
for
like,
decent
what? They're
exposure.
allowed to utilise it, and I've gone,
Really?
what?
Yeah.
And this is how sick
That's
it is. Well,
horrible as
unless
well.
you're in the classroom and seeing this, which we are not allowed in to see, we ain't
Well,
got
there
a
should
clue
be
what
live
is going
streaming
on.
what goes on there because you need to know what goes on with your kids.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we jumped over that.
My kids are
Right. Okay, God granted you your mind. Okay? And in equity, the beneficiary is the true owner. Okay? Not legal title. Who's the beneficiary of your body?
You.
My mind. Okay? The mind controls the body, therefore I'm the true beneficiary of the body. So, if we're all equal under the law, nobody can tell anybody what to do, that's where we've got all the case law, that what you choose to do with your body is entirely up to you, and it doesn't matter what any expert's opinion is. Why? My body, Creator's given me this. It's not up to you or anybody else to tell me what I do with this. Okay, so this stuff about committing suicide, if you want to commit suicide, go ahead, it's your choice. What's that got to do with society? Absolutely nothing.
What about abortion?
So abortion, following the same principles, okay, the highest claim to a creation is from its creator. So the parents are the creators of a fetus. It's their decision what they do with it. I have no say in that.